Good afternoon. Good Friday afternoon, everybody. The weekend looms before us. It is the 23rd of January. 23rd of January, in less than a month less a day. I turned 68 years young, which is significant. That was the age my dad was at when he died. My father, my
Mm.
adoptive father, the only father I ever knew, dear old dad, passed away when he was 60. I miss him. I miss my brother who's gone. I miss my mom. She's gone. I miss my dad. They're gone. Thank God I got Susie Q. Thank God I got Blake to keep me comfy, keep me company. Anyway, there's a real smorgasbord, just various headlines. Title of today's episode is Systemic Inertia in the USA. There's problems still facing this administration, really not just this administration, but the American people. I think it should be clear to everybody that's willing to think honestly and equitably about the situation in the United States that immigration of these people from Latino countries and Somalia and elsewhere were done strategically by the Dems, facilitated by them to sustain their voting base. Because without it, they're dead in the water. And there's a number of memes and different things out, like where there is no voter ID, the Dems win. In every state where there's no
Hmm.
voter ID, the Dems win that state. Dems aren't stupid. They know if they can make ensure that that's the case where no voter ID is allowed, that they're going to hold on to power. And it's disheartening to see postal workers, for example, driving around giving ICE the finger, that the propaganda against legitimate removal of foreign actors in the United States, within the geographic
Yeah.
United States, that these people are allowed to function with a fraud on such a level.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Trump says that, if it wasn't for all the fraud, we could balance the budget in no time. In no time. But we're seeing it in California. We're seeing it in Minnesota, of course, and Ohio, and
Yep.
just all over the place where these, the institutionalized. Then there's the blue ticket system they've got, and apparently that was initiated. This is where you can get two senators to overrule a an attorney general appointment by the president. So he's had two very capable candidates refused admission to office because of this right of refusal that the Democrats have, this blue ticket. I believe it's called the blue ticket. And it's problematic. Originally, it was there for all the most noble intents, right?
Yeah.
Road to hell's paved with the best intentions. And the idea was to have, if it's not a state senator, to stop federal interest from just parachuting in some sort of candidate that goes against the will of the people of any given geographic area. So power to the people, right on. So I
Yeah.
support it. Blake supports it, but it became weaponized. It then started being twisted and used not to protect the interest of the state, but it became used for political interest. And it's your candidate, not our candidate. That candidate works against the interests of our political party. Therefore, we don't want that entity in, even though that entity poses no threat or challenge to the status quo vis a vis the native population of any given state.
Yeah.
So it's problematic. Things don't get done. Trump's trying to get the SAVE Act passed. Filibuster is a problem because the corrupt individuals on both sides of the aisle, the Uniparty, are dancing together. So they're happy. They're happy to block anything that's going to involve real change, real justice.
Hmm.
Despite running around with this GOP elephant on Trump's back, and of course, I use that as a meme thumbnail for one of our earlier broadcasts on this program, but it's very difficult. And also, we got in Minnesota some good news where we had 3 of the activists there arrested. This is great. Arrested starts there. We need them arrested. We need them then convicted, and then we need them sentenced. And all 3 chapters in that book of justice need to be fulfilled, or I'm not happy, and a lot of people are not happy on my side of the aisle. We really need to see true justice fulfilled on this stuff. Otherwise, you don't really have a country. You got what they may call Canada.
Yeah.
If it goes like that, you got Canada on your hands. That's no good for anybody. So I've got just a whole bunch of these lifted up. Okay, so yeah, let's share this one, and then we'll let Blake weigh in. Okay, here's the first one. We'll make it big. Breaking, the Department of Homeland Security just said Trump's DOJ is exploring other ways to criminally charge and arrest Don Lemon after a magistrate judge. This is a kind of malfeasance I'm talking about, Blake, where you get corrupt judge linked to Attorney General Keith Ellison, shielding Don Lemon, right? This guy's a protected animal. They got the 3 activists, but I'd argue Don Lemon's an activist journalist. Good, bring Don Lemon to justice. Protect Christians. Of course, this was all referencing these idiots that broke into a Christian church while the service was going on and interrupted it. Tricia McLaughlin, whether you be a journalist or self-proclaimed journalist, you could just be another one of those riders in St. Paul. We're going to make sure that justice is brought. So I'm not going to get ahead of the Department of Justice, but I know that they are looking at different options here in this interview. What is this, 47 seconds? Sure, we can play that. Here we go.
Okay. Can you give us any update on Don Lemon? We hear that Keith Ellison, as his the wife of the judge that wouldn't sign off, worked for Keith Ellison, that Keith Ellison's name keeps coming up as being so deeply involved in so much of the fraud and so much of the obstruction there. We do know that he is committed Marxists. He does promote Antifa. He's one of the most single radical, perhaps, members of the Democrat Party that exists in office today. What will happen with Don Lemon?
Well, Homeland Security is going to enforce the law without fear or favor, whether you be a journalist or self-proclaimed journalist, or you just be another one of those rioters in St. Paul. We will make sure that justice is brought. So I'm not going to get ahead of the Department of Justice, but I know that they're looking at different options here.
Can you give us any update on?
All right, so different options. Blake, your thoughts on, again, remember when we did our guess as to what might unfold in 2026? And my hope and my belief was that we'd see these radical judges brought to heel this year. Here's yet another example. I mean, we're getting tired of repeating ourselves. Every time I turn around, another activist judge has popped up like a whack-a-mole. You know, I dare you to do something to me. And we actually got a clip of Don Lemon. Maybe I'll grab it later. And he's just taunting, Pam Bondi. Go, come and get me, Pam.
Well, he wants it for his career too. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He wants to be arrested. He wants to have that action. They are trying to bait Trump into rounding up well-known Democrat talking heads and putting him in jail so that they can build some momentum towards the election coming up to show that he's a tyrant, he's all this, everything that they've been promoting. The funny thing is it's actually their side that was doing all that and doing everything that they project on their opposition. They're doing and did it all through Biden's administration. Rounding up their opposition, weaponizing the different departments of the government against their opposition, and especially right down to individual voices. So, I have no doubt that this is all orchestrated. It's all planned. This is right out of the Democratic machine playbook. This is right out of the playbook of the Podesta plan, which is to create as much chaos in the streets. They've got their judges in order. They've got everybody where they've still got their cells, and that's what I'll call them. They're basically cells. They're like a terror cell, held back behind to cause trouble. And that's when people were saying for so long, drain the swamp back from 2016. we wanted the swamp drained for the world's sake, because of course America is the most strongest nation on earth, and it's still the beacon to freedom for people around the world, and we need that free country. Because if the United States ever failed to become a totalitarian state, a true one like we see in China or what's happening,
or
Canada's would love to go that direction, but with America on our border, there would be nowhere left in the world to go. There would be nowhere left. Europe would just turn into it's full-on fascist governments that it wanted in the 1930s. Everywhere would fall. And it would be strange to say this, but you might be looking at as Russia becomes the freest place on earth after that. I mean, what do you got left? Antarctica? They come and get you there. But the point is that the swamp needed to be drained. The swamp is trying to fight back. We're still on that message. These people are trenched in. And I saw a really good post about where somebody was talking exactly about that. Like, it's still, as you mentioned, like, they've got these judges, they've got their uniparty guys, they've got their I don't know what you'd call them. They're almost
a cancer, man.
It is a cancer. The problem is, you said at the beginning of the show, you're not a country. The problem you're not a country if you cannot agree on a simple process of having honesty and integrity. We used to call them in Canada, the government leader, the government member was an honorable member. There was this social contract that everybody would be acting honorably, and that dishonorable conduct meant you would resign, right? And you would volunteer it. Oh yeah, I screwed up, I'll step down. I think of Mike Harcourt, right, when the whole bingo gate in British Columbia,
British Columbia,
and he did the honorable thing. He took the hit and says, okay, I'll resign as premier. Now they just don't care. That's literally, it's like they just flip you the bird and say, yeah, we're a bunch of kleptocrats, because that's what they are. Let's call them for what they are. There's Marxists, there's the ideologues in there, but ultimately there's this large class of people that have learned to game the system by stealing and robbing it blind. And that is the Democratic Party, and that is the uniparty members on the other side as well. We have it in Canada, the Liberal Party. And I think there's this, and in Europe, there's this group of globalists that think, we're just there for them to pilfer, beat up the peasants and keep them in line. And the peasants, when I say that, is the patriots. These are the people that love their country, but you're not going to be able to sustain a country if you have this depth of corruption. And there's only one path to it. Unless you have a turning away, a repentance, a moment when you show up to Nineveh and you say, Nineveh, you're going to be destroyed if you don't change your ways. And then you change and then you get saved. But that's essentially what you need. You need that, that road to Damascus moment for a nation, and say, we've gone the wrong way. We need to change our direction.
Well, certainly in the terms of the Republicans, you've got to primary all the bad actors. But in terms of the actual behavior exhibited by some of these politicians, some of them, there's not even a pretense of civility. This came out, this from Harmeet Dillon, AG, right? Grossly irresponsible and reckless. Arizona Attorney General wildly suggests residents can shoot masked ICE agents under state self-defense law, a recipe for disaster. So here you've got an attorney general, in this case representing the state of Arizona. She goes, shoot ICE, kill them, fire at them. And of course, the Fed AG.
Well, this is a Podesta plan. She's part of the Democratic.
Yeah,
she is part of that
Democrat. Team. Yeah, there's a Democrat.
And again, under a government that is alleged to use part of the voter fraud problems to get government in Arizona.
Well, Arizona's another one. I know Katie Hobbs is under investigation. A lot of criminality there, fraud and money laundering, and you name it. This is like, they've put organized crime into an art form, and Yeah, it's disheartening to see it even allowed to function to the
Yeah.
extent that it's been able to.
Well, and I think these are their, as you described, it's a perfect analogy. It's organized crime. It's just like the mob. You've got your capos, and you've got your, your boss for certain territories. You've got, your godfather families in certain areas, and that's literally how they've designed the democratic machine
And it's
to
the
do that.
same, but it's not just America. Canada's got it same problem. We've seen where they've fought for criminals, career criminals, to be allowed back in. The Democrats fighting, and they're portraying these, Tara Lagua, whatever the hell it is, gang members as mom and pops and good kids. One of the latest lies is ICE took a 5-year-old. They kidnapped this 5-year-old kid, and the kid's dad was derelict and had left the kid. And when they went and arrested the father, and then they showed the facility, there's no cages. It's like a beautiful library where they've got this youngster in being looked after while they're going through the legalities of the criminal father. But here's an interesting comment. Darshan Maharaja, interesting, goes, how does a foreigner who was ordered to be deported from Canada for contributing to why are we going to deport him? Oh, crimes against humanity, deserve the chance to get refugee status? The first and most sacred duty of the state is the safety of its citizens. Canadian state institutions are hopelessly lost. Same with American ones, Democrat ones anyway. Pakistani cop ordered deported from Canada for contributing to crimes against humanity. He won another shot at refugee status. Canada's Immigration Division found Pakistan's Punjab Police Service engaged in systemic human rights abuses, including these old chestnuts: torture, rape, and extrajudicial killings. Holy smoke. We'll just murder you, extrajudiciously, which is all that means. But here's a guy that they're considering, he's not a bad boy. These are good boys. And clearly they're anything but. So again, it speaks the same thing. America's having the same problem with this, with the gang members, the Dems, activist judges trying to stop ICE from deporting the Department of Homeland Security, handcuffing these guys, pardon the pun, so that these criminals can stay and pose a clear and present danger to the American people. Here's a Canadian example of the same kind of garbage.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was a comment that, and I thought was a very educated point, and it wasn't somebody just making some kind of hyperbolic statement, but literally said that the Democratic Party and the Liberal Party are joined at the hip. And then when you look at what's going on in Europe and what's in Australia, they're all joined at the hip doing the same thing. So if Trump is successful in exercising the reversal of the globalist worldview that we need to erase all of Western society and turn into this post-national state society where nobody has any core identity. It's just all run by these massive entities that are all interconnected within government controls and monopolies, that the local pushback, which they're already experiencing in the US. That's why did you see Canada also stated that Evan Solomon's changing his tune? He now wants to investigate X.
Okay, right? Well, tell everybody.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Tell them who, because you say this, and you and I know, but our American friends, they don't have a clue.
Yeah, he's our jokingly, they call him our cabinet minister responsible for AI and technology in Canada. So he's a cabinet minister under Mark Carney and former CBC stooge.
That's the one I wanted to get to. So this guy's a former journalist for state television.
Yeah.
And now he's a minister, apparently.
After he stated that X was not going to be targeted whatsoever, but now it's exactly what we predicted. They're going to investigate it so that they can start going after the people that post on it. That's the difference. But my point is that it's been exposed that the Liberal Party is working in conjunction with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, really, the Liberal Party is now an offshoot of the Democratic Party. The Liberals are working under them. And apparently, that the Canadian banking cartels that are run under Carney's control and direction are funneling and protecting those honeypots of money that Trump's been going after. What they have most likely have picked up through proceeds through fraud and corruption that we're seeing exposed right now, that equates into the billions, maybe trillions of dollars when they get to the bottom of it all. But yeah, it is probably the biggest fraud in history. And I think that, but they need Canada, and Podesta and the gang is all part of it. They need Canada as part of the Democratic machine to cause problems. So I think we're going to be seeing significant pushback, because, as I said, if Trump can prove that this mass migration replacement theory is not a theory, that they're actually doing it, and we know they're doing it, the evidence is doing that, they're trying to erase the local Western culture and replace it with literally third world culture who have no values in your culture that you have in your Western culture.
I want to do a quick commercial for this lady here.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, can you come up for a second? You can come up in avatar mode. I'll give you the thing. And just tell the kids a bit about your show. She's been doing a lot of political topics lately. Birthright citizenship came up in the U.S. Just because you land in the U.S. and then have your kid there, anchor
Canada
baby.
has it as well too.
We have it as
worse
well.
Here, 3 years, and you can bring the whole family and cousins and everybody else.
So anyway, Sarah, extend it just for like 5. We'll give her 5 minutes or so, just to do a little plug for your channel. She's got a great show. She's got a lot of subscribers, and well deserved. And I'm a big fan of hers. And so she does great. So yeah, I want to give you 5 minutes just to do a little commercial for yourself. All right, that's great, Sarah. Anyway, all this systemic, institutionalized stuff. This way, Trump. Can I say it right once? Trump is talking about the filibuster, right? We got to get the filibuster and do the usual. Hey, sir, it's me. There we go, girl. All right, come on up. Here we go. Boom, there she is. Hey, look at you, a little beautiful little S. S is for Sarah. Sarah, I just wanted to give you a little bit of time to let the people know that watch this. We're very small potatoes here, but I wanted to extend the offer to you to get a few more people eyes on your great channel. And you're doing a lot of political stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're picking back up on the debates. Of course, we kind of switched gears for Moderator Monday and decided to go into open panel grab bag topic, which has been working out really well, and it's less stress on me. But the debates themselves, I've got 2 coming up this weekend. We've got a morality, like objective versus subjective debate coming up Saturday, and then a police are trained to violate the Constitution, I believe is the claim.
God help us.
You're right, and that's with a First Amender. His name's John Felix, and he's pretty big in the amender or like the auditor space.
Yeah, I know what they are. Yeah,
and so that should be a big one. But yeah, if you got a topic, we cover it. We try to stay somewhat current and with new
I think
things
really
happening.
current, like you did the one on Elon with his ex. She's going. She's doing anything she can to torpedo the poor bastard. That's a cautionary tale. Choose wisely. But Elon's quite the coxman. I mean, what's he got? 24 kids, or he's like a Mormon or something.
I'm starting to think that he's actually trying to take over the world. And that was on Sleepy Tomato, by the way, which is just me, not Raging Tomato. Raging Tomato is obviously like the debates and panels, but the Sleepy Tomato show is completely separate, and it's just me, where I just get to talk to my people, have fun, and cover topics that I want to talk about. But I really do. I'm starting to theorize that Elon is trying to take over the world by having as many babies as possible and insert his genetics into the population. And 100 years from now, it'll be nothing but the Musks. Yeah, Genghis Khan. Yeah, exactly. So
right.
I'm starting to think that he's doing that.
Now, since the lovely lady isn't on camera right now, I'm just going to share her page. There's Sarah. And this is her in the guise of the Raging Tomato, but this is the channel. Look at that. What a great graphic that is. But just because debate objective morality versus objective morality, which Sarah was just alluding to. Police are trained to violate the Constitution. What? Ladies' night, you like girls? We got girls.
Ooh, yeah. Are you going to join our ladies' night open panel grab bag?
Have you got an open panel grab bag just for girls?
Yeah, so it's I'm trying to do this like maybe once a month because we're trying to get more female panelists up on the screen, and it can be a little overwhelming when we have so many men who come. I mean, even last night it was like 9 versus me, right? So I'm going to start doing a ladies' night maybe about once a month for Mod Monday open panel. Where ladies have priority. They're first in line. They have absolute talking priorities on the screen, and they can kind of, they get a little more free reign than the men do. And you can't boot the women for the night. They can be on screen all night.
They get a pass.
Exactly. So
because there are gender rules, it has been observed that women get talked over more. They get marginalized more in vocal spaces. This is a well-documented phenomena. And but here's the story right there. YouTube.com, The Raging Tomato. This is Sarah's channel. Get over there, give her a thumbs up, and leave a comment, and support the channel and support Sarah. I'm a big fan. Sisters are doing it for themselves. The song goes, and Sarah's great to me and spoils me, and so I'm a huge fan. And but I wanted to draw attention to your channel since I caught you in the audience here today.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to the chat. I know you guys were involved in a really good conversation, and I didn't want to interrupt it.
We're just doing kind of, I mean, the main theme is systemic inertia within the U.S. system. It's here in Canada as well, but really it's frustrating because America has so much potential right now, especially under this administration. We're seeing so many good things happening. And I've got a couple of good points to bring into the conversation a little bit later. One involving automobiles coming into America from China, of all places.
Really?
The exact opposite of Canada, where we're getting Chinese vehicles into Canada, which is what you don't want. So anyway, Sarah, the Raging Tomato, everybody. And I want to thank Blake, too, for allowing us to give up some of our time here for Sarah. Sarah, I love you.
Thank you, Blake.
Nice to
love
meet
you. I'll talk to you guys in chat.
Love you, Sarah. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so, well, let's get back on track. Here we go. We've been talking a lot about Canada Carney. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. This is quite remarkable. Is that the one? Is this the one? This is the one I want to share. Okay, check this, Blake. This is what you were just kind of alluding to. Yeah. Let's go stop that and get this instead. Boom. This is really interesting. Okay. Mark Carney and his Liberal government will hammer home the last nail in Canada's coffin. There's our little coffin. Good emoji use. I approve. 2 things. I'm not surprised Carney slithered off the snake he is, and Julian Assange replied a cat turd. I've seen this alluded to before, but never said so concisely. And I believe he's spot on 100%. Cat turd. We already know Carney's a coward. Stephen Chase. Carney's leaving Davos without meeting Trump after his speech on U.S. rupturing of world order. U.S. rupturing world order.
The ending of globalism.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? Here we go. Julian Assange, the Julian Assange. Carney is a Democratic National Convention asset. The Liberal Party and the DNC are joined at the hip. The Liberal Party of Canada and the Democrats are joined at the hip. The DNC, I never remember, it was Democrat National Committee. It's committee, right?
Committee, yeah.
Committee.
DNC,
I said not conventions. Democrat National Committee keeps their money in Canadian banks because it shields their money laundering from the U.S. authorities. The amount of fraud going on in Canadian banks makes the Somali fraud look like child's play. So, ladies and gentlemen, stamp this on your forehead, turn it into a tattoo.
Yeah.
Carney is a DNC asset. The Liberal Party and the DNC joined at the hip. Money laundering. The Dems funneled their money into Canada. They launder it here so that it's outside of American auspices. They can't look in on it. They can't. And so therefore you've got millions, dare I say billions of dollars just in Canadian bank system fraud. Go Blake.
Well, and I think that on a broader context, and I'm sure if we had Julian Assange in here, he would probably back this up as well as the ladies from Promethean Action, that the Canadian banks are not being governed by Canadians. Yes, there's Canadians that work for them. All this all leads to the financial power center of London, which I think the Promethean Action people have completely exposed. So Carney is an asset to that, as well are the DNC. So that's where the joining is, because when we talk about these offshore tax havens where all these banks operate, flushing money from all these criminal organizations, funneling drugs and cartel money and all that in the Caribbean and places like, the Grand Cayman Islands, the Bahamas. These are Bermuda, where places are tax-free havens and shelters that are run by this globalist elite that centers their power out of London. And I think this is why we look back at 2016 and we talk about Hillary Clinton's working with the English spy who basically concocted the whole Trump dossier, which was a fraud. It shows the connection. There's this collusion of this globalist empire that does not want to see America to become standing on their own 2 feet and basically saying we're directing policy now rather than being directed out of London and Europe. And Parney is just part of that club. He's one of their generals. That's why I said when Trudeau was screwing up, they got rid of the Padawan who was making a mess of Canada, and they said, well, we're going to lose it. And the only way we're going to get control of this is we've got to send our WF general, board of governor, Carney over there to clean house. And I think that just falls right into that perspective that literally this web of power in the world is fighting back. As I said, they're trenched in, and we said it right for a number of months now, last year, going all the way back, saying that the globalists will entrench themselves in Canada. Canada becomes the proxy battleground against Trump and MAGA, because this is where the world can dig in, much like they did in Ukraine with Russia. And it's the same kind of thing. They antagonized Russia till they got what they wanted there. And now they're doing the same to Trump, and Canada is the battleground to do that. But I do believe the announcement was done. I'm not 100% that Carney is a full-on sellout to the globalist. I think he's managing the descent. That's my core belief, and why and what he's doing, because it doesn't line up. It's like when you follow the money and you're watching the action and what he says on one side, because forget what the clapping seals in Canada are clapping at, because they're just basically sheep going off to slaughter, and they'll clap their way all the way to death. So the point is, but look at his actions. Where did his personal assets go? What is he doing around the world to shore up right now? When he's doing these trade missions, everywhere he's touching is tied to Brookfield. Brookfield moved to the United States, right? His assets, his blind trust, the majority of his fortune is tied to the United States, right? He gets endorsed by Trump. He's a Goldman Sachs guy. Goldman Sachs guys surround Trump. Trump likes Goldman Sachs guys. If you look at it, he loves his Goldman Sachs people. And he calls Mark. He doesn't call him governor. He doesn't do all that stuff like he did with Trudeau, because Trudeau was just a little goofy kid. Get the hell out of the way. You're just a little kid, little governor. You can go hang out with Newsom and the gang.
Yeah.
That's kind of where he was putting him in his place there. But he calls Mark. Like there's a friendliness there. And I somehow I still believe that there's something going on, almost like the Elon Musk Trump little pillow fight, I call it, because it seemed like something was going on there, which
like kittens fighting.
Well, you put on a production for a reason, right? People say, well, some things are 4D chess, some things are not. MTG, for example, said this isn't 4D chess. This. I think she exposed herself. Yeah, no, you're solely selfish, and you're doing what you're doing for selfish purposes.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it too within a lot of the talking heads within the YouTube verse or X verse with Candace Owens and stuff like that, where they're clearly doing something to try and derail MAGA, right? Like that's the whole point, to cause division internally. But I think Carney, he's on the managed decline. That's the whole point. He's got to make it worse and worse and worse. So when he makes the final deal at the last second at Kuzma, him and Trump will be hugging, and the lemmings in Canada will be cheering like seals, trained seals clapping as they drape Fortress North America with Canadian flags. That's exactly what they need to do. That's the exposure, because the lemmings here are nuts. You probably saw the latest video, what happened at UBC with the 1BC and a number of the other speakers that were showing, the professors and all that kind of stuff, one getting arrested.
Well, you're going into Lion's Den when you go to UBC, UVic, and these institutions, right?
But that's the center of where they're training the next group that are coming in, and where the intellectuals that are pushing this sort of global fascisms masked under Antifa, masked under it's
masked under education.
Well, and that's what they do. It's propaganda. When you hear Carney say at Davos in his speech, Canada is one of the most educated, and not most educated, he means most propagated, indoctrinated, clapping seals, do what you told. So easy to manipulate, to do what will. That's why they passed a bill that they're allowing companies to basically, multinational corporations, to go unopposed in any kind of exposure under Canadian laws. He's giving them a free pass now because it's going to be his buddies. But I'm just saying, it's the kleptocracy, knowing full well that Trump has made the announcement. That whole system is now done. You guys are finished. China's now, it's China and the US right there. And Russia kind of is somewhere in there, because they're almost like just because they got nukes, that's the influence they have. One of the largest nuclear arsenals, if not the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, and landmass, but they're not population wise or on economic standards. It's USA and China now. And I think China has recognized that. They can just shove Europe out of the way, right? And Trump is trying to save Europe, right? He's like, Europeans, he's talking to you, the European, you, the United Kingdom citizen, direct, going over all your fake leaders that have been planted in there by this globalist cartel that are trying, old guard, that are trying to manipulate and keep controlling things. So it's going to be an interesting next few months as we get into the summer when Kuzma, but all of this stuff is blowing up, right? As we talked about, the election fraud is just coming straight out. New information, like they're seeing stuff here locally about that, remanded, all interconnected, because it's the same voting machine, same companies that were acting in the US, same in Canada, possibly in other parts of Europe and South America where they were operating there. Yeah. That this entire election fraud system is also connected to this machine that's integrated. The liberals, the Democratic Party, the socialist parties and labor uniparties in Europe, et cetera, and people are fighting back. And I think that's what terrifies them more than anything, is that if they lose power completely, it's Nicolae Ceausescu moments is what they may experience in some of these countries, or it's going to be Nuremberg 2.0, where we're going to actually see these people tried for crimes against humanity.
That would be a dream come true.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a question here. This is coming from Chuck. It's a great question, because a lot of people are wondering what the hell's going on. I'll answer first, and I'll let Blake take a crack at it. Is Pam Bondi incompetent, compromises silently working on the biggest RICO case that the world will ever see? I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know. She bothers me. I'm frustrated. A lot of us are frustrated. but it's a system that kind of handicaps her a bit. We still have these activist judges. They've got to be taken out of the way. We've got Don Lemon running around because we got the wife of a friend of Keith Ellison is the AG in Minnesota, gunning for the guy, protecting him, riding shotgun for Lamont, so he can go, you can't get me, you can't touch me. So, but here's what I do say. I trust Trump explicitly, implicitly, all the way. I'm all in on Trump. I think Trump's amazing. And so because I have so much trust in Trump, I believe that Pam Bondi will have to produce. She's on a timeline, and Trump knows he's on a timeline, notwithstanding, should I run for a fourth term? Notwithstanding, he truthed that thing out. But notwithstanding that, I trust him. And so I know that he's allowing her a certain time frame. If she doesn't produce results within a certain period of time, I know Trump knows that something's got to give. And I think she's under control. I think Trump's in complete control of his administration. So I think I have to believe we're going to see justice. So don't worry about her. Eyes off of Bondi, eyes on Trump. I think that's the best way to handle it. But yeah, she's frustrating. We don't want to see her on Fox, and we don't want to talk about any promises of rest. Don't talk about it. Just do it, and we'll stand back and applaud. Yeah. That's what's got to happen. Blake, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that just piggybacks on what you just said. I mean, I don't know either. There's all kinds of rumors swirling, but again, the rumor mill is part of the division mill that is attempting to divide MAGA, where they're saying like Dan Bongino quit because of an issue with her. But I'm not sure if that's the case. I think if Trump was upset, she wouldn't be there anymore. She'd be gone like that. And I think that because he doesn't suffer fools, right? And that's I think you're out the door if you're not going to perform, or if he sniffs that if you're a rat, especially if you're working for the globalist elite that have polluted the swamp system that they've got there. If there was any sniff of that now, you're going to be gone pretty fast. But I think, but this kind of gets to Sarah's point when you were mentioning about they were covering a topic about how the police forces, or essentially the enforcement arm of the United States, has been trained to act unconstitutionally. And I remember reading years and years ago, back in the 1990s, that this was a concern, that both military and police forces and the governments at that time, of course, that was during Clinton's era, but they were saying, like, back as early as about the time when the Federal Reserve, when the U.S. government gave unconstitutionally, in my opinion, handed over the entire monetary currency system over to a private cartel called the Federal Reserve System. The language within what those enforcement entities, the various agencies, changed. The language, because they used to have to read a card that would an oath of loyalty, right? And what was the oath of loyalty to? It was for the Republic, right? The Constitution stands for the Republic. And the words the Republic was in that oath. It was then changed. In the training manual, they would carry a little card with them. And in that card, it would call it that it was, they named it, they changed the word to democracy. To the you're there to support democracy. Well, no, people, the United States is not a democracy. A democracy is just simply a tool in which you elect to get certain things done. But the republic is res publica, is law of the people. You have laws that protect people, not just a majority rule, but you have minority protection, so that the protection of the minority as well. So what's happened is literally They're no longer being taught that they represent the interests of the republic. They're swearing an oath to protect the republic. That is critical, not democracy. That's why you hear it all over. It's about democracy. Trump's going to destroy a democracy. Of course he is. I hope so. I hope he destroys and demolishes every single one of these democratic losers that want to have mob rule around the world, because that's what pure democracy is. It's mob rule. But with laws to protect you, that's what they're afraid of. Because if they can keep, why do they call them the Democratic Party? It's all about, they're Confederates. I mean, that's basically what they wanted. They wanted to break up America in their foundational and keep loyal to the United Kingdom. Democracy is great, you know, and if you got a king over top of that, well, it's a great tool to control the masses and turn mobs against each other. And we see that in Canada, right? It's just amazing.
Democracy is an exciting form of government created by a bunch of Greek homosexuals. All right, we got that. We got more to go. There's so many headlines here. Let's do this one here. What do we got here?
The Friday free for all.
Okay, here we go, Blake. The Trump administration talking about just lawlessness and crazy. The Trump administration now has proof Democrats have been paying for illegal health care, even dentist appointments with Fed money. Democrat states must pay the money back to the federal government. Here's the bill. California's $1 million some odd. New York owes 30,000, 29 Illinois, Minnesota, Oregon, DC owes 2 million, Colorado 1 mil. Numbers verified from the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. California spent over $1 billion on illegal health care, just in federal money alone. And this is only what they found so far. So it's all coming out. They're, uncovering all the fraud. Let's play the clip.
Battle brewing in California. The Trump administration says the state owes the federal government more than $1 billion for health care given to illegal immigrants. William Lajeunesse has the story from L.A. Hi, William.
Well, Dana, there are two stories here, right? One is how rising costs have forced blue states to roll back health care for those without legal status. The other is the White House crackdown on eligibility. If states can't confirm those getting care are U.S. citizens, they have to pay the feds back.
We are auditing aggressively, and we don't like what we see.
In March, the Trump administration began auditing states that provide illegal immigrants with routine health care paid for by American taxpayers. Their findings? 7 states and the District of Columbia owe nearly $1.4 billion for using federal, not state money for immigrant care.
All right. So we know what's going on. What's the rationale? Why on God's green earth would the Democrats be given free health care to people that aren't even American citizens? Gosh, sounds like a great deal. I'm going down to get my colonoscopy and saddle. Thanks, America.
Oh, pick up that and my
free
voter card. And my voter
free.
card. Yeah, my voter money.
All right. So talk to me. What's the deal, man?
I think that's it. Vote. That's vote our way. We've got lots of freebies for you. We see that in Canada too. We're being swamped, and they're doing the same thing, heading out, up to $80,000 a year for illegals, you could call them, or temporary foreign workers, and they get all these extra bonuses. So-called refugees, including Pakistani, that one police officer apparently who's being accused of crimes against humanity.
Yeah, they get all with the raping and
that's right. But here's 80 grand a year. Well, all of us Canadians we'll never get that, even when we retire. Yeah. It's amazing. You work your entire life here and never receive a benefit like that. But yeah, it's a vote buying scheme, as you can say. It's the only way they can perpetuate power is by cheating. And they're using everything in their arsenal that they can scam money out and funnel it to provide their voter scam process, which is basically buying votes from people who are technically not allowed to vote.
But anyway, I'm so glad Trump's administration is on it. Here's another one. A few years ago, it really went viral when Thomas Massie, Trump spoke openly against Massie, say he's not a good guy, and everybody went, whoa, he's one of our best, like there was such a huzzah coming from the for, I guess, what he called the Trump voting base, and everybody said this is going to rip MAGA apart, but it didn't. But I think if there was any doubt about what's really going on with Thomas Massey, here you go. Remember everyone who took up for this lowlife piece of shit? We warned you. He's just a creepy ass fuck weirdo who's weird or ass fuck weirdo whose only goal in life is to vote against Trump. Stone cold loser. Breaking. Thomas Massey just voted with Democrats against Trump's mass deportations, and he voted against giving more funding to Department of Homeland Security. So this guy is not in with us. America is here. This kind of talk, right? Eric Anderson, 1770s. America is with Massey, but America is not with Massey. America is with Trump. And this is some of the stuff this is part of that GOP refrigerator action, elephant on top of Trump's back that he's having to carry. And guys like that come in and reinforce the line, we're all in on Massey. It's a small minority that support Massey. I believe he's going to get his ass primaried. I think he's not long for the Republican Party. But sometimes it takes pressure. Trump is an expert at putting a spotlight on something to reveal what it truly is. I think Canada's getting revealed very nicely right now as a proxy for the Chinese, if not the United Kingdom, which is an obvious because of our Commonwealth status, but really our corrupt tie-in with China, because Carney is basically echoing Chinese talking points against the president's policy, and policies plural. But Thomas Massey, and Republicans like him, going against, you've got to get in line or you're not going to get anything. The old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. If you don't want funding for Department of Homeland Security, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you.
Well, and I think we've seen, Trump faces what any leader in the free United States faces, and it is a country built of checks and balances. So, unfortunately, and fortunately as well, that you do have these checks and balances. Unfortunately, it's being abused, right, by those entrenched deep staters that are trying to derail the United States. They're working against the very foundations of the United States. And Trump is a constitutionalist. I believe Massey likes to pump his chest that he's a constitutionalist. He's a libertarian. He kind of sits in that camp, and I agree with a lot of libertarian principles. I'm very much on that side of the fence. But when you're trying to fight against geopolitical forces, as you said, Carney, and you've got Canada playing footsies with China, I think it's all part of the act, quite frankly. We'll see how that, because a $7 billion deal with China is nothing when you're talking about nearly $1 trillion in trade going back and forth between Canada and the United States. It's ridiculous to think. And even Trump said to Carney, I think you should be doing deals like that. That's good. A leader should be making deals with China, because he's making deals with China too. Let's remember that Trump's making China, but the point is that, that's, you can see why Trudeau stated his admiration for China's basic dictatorship is essentially because of those checks and balances. China has no checks and balances. It's a supreme leader. He can do whatever he wants. So he can get stuff done like this. Trump has to deal with, the different layers of government. You've got the House of Representatives, you got the Senate, the committees, and they have that separation of those powers. And you have it separated constitutionally between the individual, that's your rights and, your Bill of Rights. You've got it separated at the state level. There's your senators, right? So they represent the state's interests. That's why Rhode Island has just as much power as California at the Senate level. And then you have like the more populist kind of view, and that's the you've got the House of Representatives, which is more on the numerical side of each local area they represent at a very local level. So I think, to get those pieces moving into the same direction, like let's make America great again, let's reconstitute the United States, let's come to do that. it is a monumental task. And you've got all these people, as you said, like the rhinos and the uniparty type people that are working to stop
and people that profited off of the old system.
That's where it's saying at the beginning that people need to have that moment where they've realized as an individual, I can change this with working with everybody else. And there is a lot of people, though, unfortunately, that are brainwashed into believing that Trump's some kind of fascist Mussolini that showed up, and they're being propagated with this information in the United States, and especially in Canada through our regime media, especially in Europe through their regime media. And they're hearing this message over and over and over again. So that's where the whole TDS comes from, is actually it's the fascists that are running those systems against Trump. If Trump's a fascist, he would have just rolled in with tanks and everywhere.
But things would be going a lot more smoother.
And who has run in with tanks and attacked countries and disabled countries by force? Obama did. The Clintons did. Hillary is working with Obama, was like derailing countries all over the world. Bush Jr., Bush Sr., all of them invaded countries. And they're all part of that uniparty system. Trump has not done that. He's done some very selective work, but he's trying to protect America in its constitutional foundations. It's 1776 foundations, because that's who he's surrounded with. Those people believe it. So he's got all these people that have got their own ideas of what they want to see America become versus just go back to what America is and was in its original foundation.
All right. Well, one thing America's never been is a nation of dog eaters. Okay, so here's something here. Now, the comment on the surface of it, I mean, it can be flippant, but I think there's some truth in it. How widespread was that phenomena ever? Let me say this from a story that made the papers in Blake and our hometown. Blake still lives in Victoria. I've moved up island here, but I'm still on Vancouver Island. But Victoria's my hometown. I think it was the 90s. I think it was a 1990s story. There was a well-known Chinese restaurant in Victoria that had ultimately got shut down. But it had been fined on 3 separate occasions. If I remember, it was 3 separate occasions for the Department of Health went in and they found that they were cooking dogs and people were eating dogs and cats in that restaurant because in their culture, it was perfectly acceptable. So they didn't have any moral retardant working against them. Now, how widespread was that? Every Chinese restaurant? No, not at all. But, and even if it was isolated, it still underscored that when you have people from different cultures come in, that's going to be part and parcel of it. John Cleese talks about I think he tells the story being in Thailand, and he ate dog while he was in Thailand. He said, later, as he was walking home, he felt a little tingle in his salivary glands when he saw a dog walk home. That'd be good to eat. And and so it was so disgusting. But Cleese has got that very dark humor, and the psychological. It's like cannibalism for people over here. It's like it's a taboo. You just don't do it, especially for people in our culture where we love dogs so much, right?
Eddie's comment.
Bruce Stern, you're not cooking.
That gets the clap of admiration.
I don't watch it like with my regular show on my music channel. I police it. I don't police this thing. Normally I pin comments. That's worth pinning, Eddie. You're not going to cook my dog today, Governor. Holy shit. All right, let's grab another one. Oh yeah, this is something because we got 4D from UK here. I always like to do a UK story or two. This is sad, Blake. It's like Canada, though. It's already over for the UK, declares Cat Turd. Holy crap, the number 1 baby name in England is still Mohammed. So it's number one in all of England. It's not just England, not London. It's gone to the whole country now. And nearly 41% of London residents are foreign born. 41% of London are foreign born. This is how you lose a country. Well, let's go watch the clip.
4 in 10 London residents weren't born in the country. And the number one baby name in England, Mohammed. Where is the outcry, the outrage from our allies over what's happening right under our nose? Former Mumford & Sons banjoist. 4 in 10 London residents weren't born in the country.
They had the
and the number one baby name in England.
Came out and he got in a lot of trouble. He got canceled for his efforts. But it speaks to this whole issue of population replacement. I mean, when you've got 40%, almost half the people in London are foreign born. When that happens, then you no longer carry the values, the norms, the mores, the very culture that identifies a nation state disappears under the archetypes of a foreign culture. So therefore, England no longer looks like England. I think it was Paul Joseph Watson recently did one where he's doing a picture of the diversity, and they showed the same location at a city in the UK, maybe Birmingham or something. It was like 1994, and it showed all the people walking, just the people walking. And then said, and the guy was doing, let's put the diversity cam on. Here's what the same mall looks like today. And the idea was go find a white person in the whole thing. You're not going to find a native born Brit in any of the crowd. It was just Chinese and Africa, people anywhere but, England. So it's very sad. And it's critical. And it becomes a point. And this is why Elon, what Sarah was talking about, Elon trying to rule the world, but Genghis Khan style with all these kids. But I think Elon takes very seriously the notion that our populations are on decline. And so, in his own way, right, wrong, however you want to color it, I'm not all necessarily in favor of it, but he's decided he's going to impregnate as many women as he can and have as many kids as he possibly can. And he's encouraging other families and other couples have children. Please, Europe and Canada and America, the first world order, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all you people, you got to start reproducing or you're going to go extinct, basically was saying. The Italians, everybody has declining birth rate. So this is something Musk has posted quite a bit.
Well, and I think that's the concern is that, our Western culture, our values are being eroded rapidly under this replacement. It's not a theory. It is a replacement plan. It was a plan that was organized by the globalists to destabilize and change the populations to an easier managerial, resource-based group of people that could do what they want them to do for their financial interests and their power. It got too expensive to run the first world people. It's literally, these people are bean counters who are running the world. They look at you as a number. And if you're too expensive to manage, they need to replace you with cheaper people. That's literally how they're doing it. So that managerial class has taken over to do that. And their idea is simply to replace the more expensive people with the cheaper people, that third world migration. The problem is, historically, our immigration systems were very much built on the ideas. It wasn't about, I think Elon is, more on the idea of like literally the Caucasian race is becoming, is on the precipice of extinction, like a species. And, it's a little bit of different perspective. But the other side of it is the Western culture of and really English comes from England, is that sort of polite culture. Polite, you line up, you wait, you take your turn, you do that kind of stuff. There's a great video out today. I'd suggest all you guys go and see it. Well, it came out yesterday. Paul Joseph Watson, he did a whole thing on that. Exactly like that. How the polite society civilization versus how the third world society has been dumped at an unsustainable rate into the polite society, and just shows how even lining up on trains has
it's horrible.
You look like you've become a third world country. And I think the point is, you look at those countries are a mess, right? And that's what Trump was pointing out too at Davos. Your whole replacement by immigrants from countries that can't, you think you're going to gain success by bringing people from unsuccessful countries.
Correct.
What is that? Logic doesn't line up. So the earlier logic was, let's go make those countries successful. Let's work with them to become successful at home, versus now let's just pile them all in and change our country to become full of people that are unsuccessful. Anybody who starts a business, do you think the idea is that you're going to start your business and populate it with people who won't work? I mean, with failures? No.
Well, yeah. I mean, oh my God, yeah.
You got to train them to be successful, right? You got to train people to be successful. And especially if you come from a society that's completely from a different world. I mean, and when you look at the change, the transformation, what would have made them think that bringing in, maybe the idea is that Islamic people are easy to control. And that's what the idea is that you bring in people because you can create this dictatorship and run it, this fascist-like state, with Islamic migration, because Islamic migration is about submission. Those people believe in submission, and that the authority is the authority. Except we're seeing in Iran, we may be seeing Europeans trying to escape to Iran in the next 10 years because it will become the free country. That's
well, of course, and the Persians traditionally, the Iranians, they aren't the Muslim nation. So Muslim was imposed upon that people. They're a conquered people, essentially.
And, and it sounds like maybe connected to the whole Promethean actions theory on what happened to Iran, too.
There's some good news for America. Just in a massive victory, General Motors shifting production of the Buick Envision SUV from China to Kansas City. The experts lose again. I voted for this. China is furious. Kansas, there you go. Buick coming back home to America. So a beautiful thing to see. So there are good things happening. Trump is, doing some very good things.
There's another huge one on that one, just because that just reminded me of a story I saw. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw something posted that Starmer's losing one of the biggest employers of England to the United States. Rolls-Royce is moving to the U.S., something like 40,000 jobs.
Yeah.
That is massive. If that's true, I only saw it on X. I didn't.
It'll be true depending on the source.
Well, while you're pulling that up, I'm just going to check really quick.
No one I know buys Buick vehicles. I see them around. People buy. Buick's been around for a long time. I mean, Buicks aren't my thing, but the point is, Eddie, is that they're coming out of China back in America. It's going to mean jobs for Americans, and that's what it's all about. Here's a beautiful shot, the U.S. flag being raised in Greenland. We like that. More of this, please.
Apparently it's a rumor. I'm just looking it up right now. Apparently it's a rumor. It's the jet production. Rolls-Royce denies claim Trump is moving its jet engine production to the U.S.
Yeah.
A rumor on social media says Rolls-Royce Derby-based jet engine business is headed to the U.S., taking it with it thousands of jobs.
Well, like you say, check the source. Depends on who the source is, right?
Yeah.
That's always the case. Okay. Well, listen, folks, we didn't get a chance to, we seldom do meet all the stories that are there. The big story is, we'll end on this. I'll turn it over to Blake. We'll go out on this note. Trump's new peace panel, or what is he calling it?
The board of peace.
The board of peace. Nobody's bored of peace. We want more peace. So
how about the pick of destiny?
The pick of destiny, the board of peace. I think it's just as good. So England's not a part of this. Australia's not a part of it. Canada's not a part of it. It's like the Five Eyes are being blinded. They're having their eyes poked out. From what I understand, this is a Trump is basically rendering the United Nations neutral. China, who's a big player and has veto power and has a lot of control over the UN, has zero influence over the Board of Peace. Trump can basically start to do what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, how he wants to do it. It's a masterstroke. It's another masterstroke. A lot of nations are signing on. Russia, who's been marginalized by the UN and has been pushed to the side, now has a seat at the table. So this bodes very well for Russia. It bodes very well for a much more mobile and less corrupt organization. It's an anti-UN, because let's face it, UN became commie controlled through Chinese, because the Chinese and their power of their veto and their swinging their weight around. Trump is crushing the New World Order, and it's evidenced by entities such as this Transnational Board of Peace. Go ahead, Blake.
Well, I was going to say there was a massive announcement I saw in the White House that officially the United States has pulled out of the WHO.
Yeah, that's official now. They are.
That's official. So as it lines up, they're pulling away from all of this UN, WHO, all of these entities, funding them. They're done, and I think, and essentially it's the right thing to do, because they've just become entities used by the globalists to try and derail and destroy countries being able to manage themselves. That was used as their overall tool to control the masses of the world, the one world government. And I think that's good. But yeah, big news there. But you're right, 100%. It's all coming down to these reestablishing these new agreements with countries that are willing. They're probably, let's call it this, the new coalition of the willing, not the old world coalition under the globalists that they were trying to call Europe with Greenland and all that there, and in Ukraine. That if you're willing to go with them, you're with the willing. It's like, no, you're actually the losers now, and you're the ones that are the problem. So now you have a new coalition of the willing, and you have a new world order, which is a mega world order. And each country needs to prove its own case with each other. Yeah. Simply that. No more run it through globalists. You're trying to manipulate your local politics, your local control. I mean, look at every time we go to a civic city council meeting, they're still giving land acknowledgements. They're doing UN declarations. They're doing all this stuff at that level, right down to your city council levels. Mm-hmm. That's how bad these tentacles have gone in there. And said Canada's in rough shape because we're just polluted with these people in power here. But I think Trump is successful. Get rid of those guys. End the whole climate change hoax that's man-made to create a carbon monetary system. That is coming to a close really quick. China, who's the biggest advocate of it, never performs in it. That's the beauty for them. They get to sell all their junk. I love Trump's speech when he's talking about windmills and all that. China's selling them to the world, and yet they have a few set up kind of like a demo shop. Say, here they are. Come buy them. Waste your money.
Come buy, good sucker. Yeah, we got a swamp plan for you. Well, listen, everybody. I want to thank you all for your support. Thumbs up on the show, please. Share it on the X platform if you're over on X. And we will be back on Tuesday. Not a day goes by. There's always something. There's always developments. Maybe Don Lemon will be locked up by Tuesday. That'd be nice. Blake, thanks as always, man.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Bye for now, everybody. I'm going to be back on my Patreon channel, the private show that I do on Fridays with Scoozy, and that's happening later today. I got to put a receiver together now, so I'm going to be busy doing that. Take care, everybody. I'll tell you all about the receiver and the Patreon later. Okay.